Access your free language gifts right now, before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, can you talk about your home? With the brand new My House PDF cheat sheet, you'll be able to talk about your home and everything inside. Furniture, the different kinds of rooms, and much more. Download it for free right now. Second, if you love travel, then you'll love this. The brand new Travel Words and Phrases PDF. Learn all the must-know travel phrases with this ebook. Download it for free right now. Third, useful bank vocabulary. This 1-minute lesson gives you all the must-know bank vocabulary so you can start talking about money in your target language. Fourth, essential vocabulary for talking about education. Can you talk about your school and the degree you have? This 1-minute lesson will teach you to do just that. Fifth, free language learning audiobooks for anyone that gets to see this video. You get free access to our huge library of language learning audiobooks. Save them to your device and listen and learn. They're yours to keep forever. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with audio and video lessons and our complete language learning program, then get 31% off Premium and Premium Plus with the Pretty Big Deal sale. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the lesson description below. Download them right now before they expire. Hey everyone, welcome to the Monthly Review, the monthly show on language learning, where you discover new learning strategies, motivational tips, new study tools, and discover new resources. By the way, you can download all the lessons and bonuses you're about to see right now on the website. So click the link in the description to sign up for your free lifetime account and start speaking in minutes. Okay, today's topic is 21 ways to break your routine and master a language. You're going to learn 1. The importance of taking a break, 2. How to update your language learning routine, and 3. 21 ways to break your learning routine. If you've ever felt like you're not making any learning progress or are in a rut, then this is for you. It's time to break your routine. You'll find out how in just a second. But first, listen up. Here are this month's new lessons and resources. First, the How to Count to 1 Billion PDF ebook. Maybe you can already count to 10 in your target language. But with this new ebook, you go all the way up to 1 billion. Download it for free right now. Second, do you know the 40 most common verbs? With this new Useful Verbs PDF cheat sheet, you'll master the 40 most common verbs that all beginners should know. Third, do you know the 12 habits of highly effective language learners? You'll find out what smart learners do differently, and you'll learn how to say these habits, like don't procrastinate, in your target language. Fourth, must-know money phrases. Can you talk about money? This 1-minute lesson will teach you phrases like I'm broke, time is money, and I want to be rich. To get these free resources, click the link in the description below. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. 21 ways to break your routine and master a language. So, have you ever felt like you were in a language learning rut? You have a routine going, you're studying, but you're not really pushing the needle on your progress. So, what should you do? Let's jump into the first part. Part 1. The importance of taking a break. So, before you quit learning languages completely, you should just take a day or two off. Why? Well, there's a good reason why many cultures rest for 1 or 2 days out of the week. It's why we go on vacation, why we take days off. We need time to recharge our batteries. Because language learning is work. It's nonstop dedication to one of many goals you have in your life, right? You have other things in mind: bills, relationships, work, school, vacations. So first, if you feel like you're in a rut, take a break for a day or two, do something else, and let your brain rest. The next step, update your current language learning routine. Part 2. How to update your language learning routine. What do I mean by that? I mean, do something completely different with your language learning. Do something you enjoy. And there are 2 ways you can update your routine. First, do something new within the specific skill you're working on. For example, if you like reading and want to continue reading, change the resource. Put down the textbook and try a comic, or our easy extensive reading books on the website. The second way is to change it up completely. If you're focusing on grammar, stop that and switch over to something else, like practicing your listening with audio lessons or podcasts. The point here is you break a routine you're tired of and you do something else, something you enjoy, but you're still learning the language. The result is you don't burn out, you have something new to look forward to, and you're still taking action on your language goal. So right now you might be thinking, okay, I want to break my routine. What else can I do? Let's get into the third part, 21 ways to break your learning routine. The key here is to do something new and fun, or at least something that's easy enough so that you're not overwhelmed. And for that, you need some new resources and study tools. So here are 21 examples. But if you have more approaches, leave a comment. These are just suggestions, and you need to find out what works for you. Okay, if you're focusing on vocabulary, set small goals. Learn just 5 words a day. That's it. Sign up for our free Word of the Day emails. You learn 1 new word a day every day. Learn words and phrases with our free vocabulary lists. These cover all kinds of topics, seasons, holidays, and common phrases. Use spaced repetition flashcards to drill words. Or, if you're listening to music or watching a show or a YouTube video, make it a goal to write down 5 words you don't know. For grammar, listen to our audio lessons. With every lesson conversation, you'll learn the grammar rules for the lines used in the conversation. It's a lot easier to hear grammar in action than to read about the rule. Look up example sentences using that specific grammar rule. Again, it's better to learn from multiple examples and see the rules in action. Get a grammar workbook and drill through the problems. For speaking, try and talk to yourself. Say what you're doing out loud. Read out loud. You can do this with any reading resource, including our lessons. Shadow what you hear. If you've heard this tactic before, there's a good reason why you're hearing about it again, because it works, and if you're not doing it, you're missing out. For listening, this is the easiest skill to practice. Just watch a YouTube lesson. You can also look up songs and TV show clips. Listen to our audio lessons on the site. Immerse yourself. Download our dialogue tracks that give you just the conversation in the language and play them on repeat. For writing, make it a goal to write 1 or 2 sentences about your day, or simply copy out text from elsewhere, whether our lesson or a social media post you saw. You can also write down all the new words you learned today. Finally, for reading, it's a bit tough to find an easier, more fun routine, but try these. Read along as you listen to the audio, so you'll need a resource that gives you text and audio. The audio will make it easier for you to follow along. You can easily do this with our audio lessons. Try kids' books or comics in your target language. Try our extensive reading practice books. These are easy, one-line-a-page books that are designed to get you reading fast. Or find a book about a topic you're interested in, or a book you read before in your native language. Then try reading it in your target language. Again, the point is, if you feel that you're in a language learning rut, the best thing to do is take a break and then do something new, something easier, something that's fun. Now, what's fun is really up to you as a person. You just learned a whole bunch of ways to learn, but if you have more approaches, please leave a comment. These are just suggestions and you need to find out what works for you. All right, everyone. In the last monthly review, we asked you to submit a video or audio file of yourself speaking the language, introducing yourself, or talking about your country in the language. So thank you to all of you that sent in submissions. You've all received a Premium Plus subscription as a reward. Now let's take a look at some of the videos. Okay, so we've received a few audio messages from our viewers this month, so I'm going to have a listen to them. Let's get started.
Hey Alisha,
Hi.
how's it going?
Good.
I'm Tanjim. I'm from Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, cool.
I wanna learn language because I wanna go abroad. I can get good job and English is an international language. But my English is not so good, especially in grammar part. I don't know what to do and how to improve in English. I'm also preparing for my IELTS. Would you please help me how to improve in English? Have a lovely day. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. And thanks for wishing us a lovely day. Yeah, how to improve in English. I think the most important thing is to continue your studies. Always continue your studies. Every day, study a little bit. So in your case, you said grammar is really tough. So I think if you focus on grammar, like you know that grammar is tough for you, if you can focus on really studying grammar a little bit every day, slowly over time, over weeks and months, you'll get used to it. And then you can move on to more like a lot of different things. So like vocabulary, or you can move on to listening practice and so on. So in your case, you already know grammar is tough, so start there. So good luck with your continued studies and make sure you keep studying every day. I think that's super important. Thanks for this message. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Hello, my name is Bikash Bilung. I'm from India.
India, cool.
I've been learning English for 2 years, and I think I have not gone too far to have gained so much knowledge about the language. I have been watching English class 101 videos since 2018, and I have got a lot of stuff at this site, and I'm stuck when it comes to speaking. I have not interacted much with native speakers. I'm looking forward to practice more English with this channel at English class 101. Lastly, I thank all the stuffs that English class put at YouTube. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, speaking is tough. I know many people really struggle with speaking. Like it's hard to find a native speaker to practice with. So for some people, I know they like to use apps. They found like study partners online, and they use an app to practice with a native speaker or someone who has native speaker level English. So maybe that's one thing that you can try to do. Another thing you can do is practice shadowing. We talk about shadowing a lot on the channel, which means repeating after something, after a native speaker. So you can choose a video that I've made, or you can choose a video that like Davey or Michael appears in, and you can practice speaking just after them too. So I think those kinds of things can help you to improve your speaking skills and get used to making the sounds at a faster pace. Because like in your message here, like your sentences were grammatically correct, your vocabulary choices were nice. Like you said, speaking and, speaking smoothly and getting unstuck and feeling like you can communicate naturally. I think in order to do that, you have to kind of push yourself to practice a little bit faster and like using the same words that native speakers do. So try shadowing. That's one thing you can do without a partner. And if you can find a partner, great. I know for many people that isn't possible. But finding a partner and making these recordings of yourself speaking, that's another thing that can help you a lot, I think. Thank you very much for this message. Very cool. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one.
Hello.
Hi.
I am Javier. I am from Mexico, Sonora, the
Hello.
north of the country.
Okay.
Sonora is a state where you can relax every day, riding a horse, watching horses race, while you drink some beers and listen banda music or corridos.
Nice.
Also, usually those kind of bands do concerts that are named bailes, where people go and dance all night.
Cool.
Here in Sonora, we have the best meat of Mexico. Therefore, we make the best tacos.
Oh.
Well, Sonora is like a big ranch.
Cool. So Javier, thanks for sending us a message about your city, Sonora. That sounds really cool. So it sounds like lots of good food. He claims that the best tacos, the best meat is in his city. And he talked about these really cool parties that go all night. I forgot the word already. I have to listen to your message again. But that was really cool. I really enjoyed learning about your city in just like 43 seconds. That was super cool. Thanks for sending that. I kind of want to see like a picture of this now too. Awesome. Thanks very much. Okay, that is everything that we have for this month's user submission. So thank you so much to everybody who sent one in. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you all again next month too. Thanks very much. So, which entry did you like the best? Leave a comment below. Or do you think you can do better? Here's the challenge for you. Yes, everyone watching this. Record a 30-second to 1-minute video or audio clip and tell us about where you're from. You'll win a 1-month Premium Plus subscription. To submit, click on the link in the description. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Then fill out the form. Attach the audio or video file and press submit. We may feature you in next month's episode, so a lot of learners will see you and your progress and will hopefully get inspired to improve and master the language. To submit a recording, click the link in the description and follow the instructions on the page. So thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. Next time, we'll talk about a brutally honest way to improve your language skills. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you're ready to finally learn language the fast, fun, and easy way, and start speaking from your very first lesson, get our complete learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Click the link in the description. See you next time. Bye! Hey everybody, welcome back to Ask Alisha, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. First question comes from Flavia. Hi Flavia. Flavia says, hi Alisha, can you explain why you use if I were you instead of was? Yeah, so the pattern if I were you is an example of what's called the subjunctive mood. So the subjunctive mood is something that we use to talk about unreal situations, so things that are not true. So we use if I were you to talk about the unreal situation, the unreal present situation, which refers to like the fact that I am not you, like that's not a true situation. So we use this subjunctive pattern, if I were you, to talk about that. If I was, however, would begin a simple past statement. So something in the past, but maybe the speaker is not so certain about that past thing. So for example, if I was wrong, I'm sorry. Or if I was noisy last night, I apologize. So that means the speaker has some uncertainty about the past. Like if I was noisy last night, like I don't know if I was, but maybe I was. If I was, I apologize. So those are past situations that could be possible. They're not necessarily like unreal, but we want to maybe express like an apology, or we want to express some kind of uncertainty about something that might have affected someone in the past. So maybe I was noisy last night, or maybe I was wrong, for example. I don't know, but if I was, then I apologize, or I'm sorry. So we use this if I was for these simple past tense statements. So actually you will commonly hear native speakers using if I was you, but it's not like that's going to cause any communication problems, actually. So yes, the technically correct pattern to use is if I were you, but there are so many people that say if I was, that it's not like a communication problem. So technically, yes, it's incorrect to say if I was, but you're not going to have any problems if you use that pattern instead. So that's the basic difference. If I were you refers to an unreal present situation. If I was something refers to uncertainty about a past situation or a past event. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Kirill. Hi, Kirill. Kirill says, Alisha, I'm stumped by trying to distinguish the difference in meaning between evaluate and assess? Could you help me? Yeah, great question. And actually, native speakers have trouble with the difference between these words too. So let's talk first about the word evaluate. So a great way to remember the difference between the words evaluate and assess is to consider that inside the word evaluate is the word value. So when we evaluate something, we are assigning or we are giving some value to that thing or to that person. This can mean like the price of something. This can mean the significance of something. This can mean like the condition of something. So some examples. We evaluated this camera and gave it an 8 out of 10 score. Our company's software was evaluated by a tech website and given a low rating. So in each of these example sentences, a certain level of value is assigned or is given to something or to someone. So when we evaluate, we're doing it in order to give value or to assign or to find the value of something. So it could be a score, it could be a price. So let's compare this to the word assess. The pronunciation is assess, assess. So the word assess then has the same feel of evaluate, but the purpose of assess is to understand something better. So we don't assess something in order to assign a value to that thing. We're assessing something in order to understand it better. So we try to understand deeper information or to learn more about the details of something. We assess something. So you might assess a situation. That means you look deep into the details to better understand the situation. Some more examples. We need to assess the security of the company's data. He assessed his housing options before making a decision. So this is the difference between evaluate and assess. If you're ever not sure, just remember that the word value is inside evaluate to help you remember that evaluate is used to assign value to something. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Yasser. Hi, Yasser. Yasser says, what is the meaning of the expression word? I've seen it in some movies and I can't figure out what it means. Yeah, word is like a strong, laid-back expression of agreement among close friends. You can also use it to ask, really? Or is that true? If you use kind of a question intonation, so word. So you might also hear it used in a situation where someone does something that you really admire or that you kind of respect or you think is impressive, and you might hear someone say word in response to that. So that kind of shows support or that you were impressed or you admire that thing. I feel like in a lot of cases it's just used as a simple expression of agreement or understanding. For example, we're gonna watch the game tonight. Word. Personally, I don't use this word that much because it is kind of a cool word and I'm not really a cool hip-hop street culture kind of person. But if you want to use it, I would recommend using it among very close friends and in very casual situations. So I hope that this helps you understand it. Thanks very much for the question. All right, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Brian Talaigua. Hi, Brian. Brian says, hi, Alisha. Can you please explain to me the meanings and uses of the word happen, specifically in these cases? Do you happen to? My sister happens to be a lawyer, etc. I'm confused. Yeah, this is a nice question. Okay, to begin with, I want to introduce a few very common patterns that we see with the word happen. Let's take a look. Do you happen to have? Would you happen to know if? It just so happens that. My sister happens to be. Okay, so kind of the theme with this use of the word happen is chance or by chance of something. So let's take a look at the first two patterns here. These first two are question patterns. So the first one was, do you happen to have? And the second one was, would you happen to know if? So another way to say these is there any chance you have? Or is there any chance you know? So you're asking very politely, is there a possibility? Is there a chance of this thing? So we use this form of happen to make very formal or very soft requests. So this is really useful when you're speaking to a stranger. So if you can imagine you're a tourist and you need some help in a city that you are unfamiliar with, you could say to a nearby person, like, "Excuse me, do you happen to know where I could buy a coffee around here?" Or, "Excuse me, would you happen to have the time?" So that's like you're making a very like soft request that's like saying, "Is there any chance, or is it possible at all that you have this information, or you could do this for me?" So it's a very soft request form. So let's take a look at the other two sentence patterns that I introduced here. These are some statement patterns. So again, these do mean by chance, but for these kinds of statements, the context is actually really important. The situation is important. So for example, "It just so happens that I got 2 free tickets to that concert you were talking about last week." So "it just so happens" means like by chance, or like something happened like that was very coincidental. It just so happens that this situation fits nicely with something else in my life right now. So it just so happens I got these free tickets, and this relates to having this discussion with you about a concert last week. So those two things kind of fit nicely together. It's a nice little coincidence. So "it just so happens that" is used to do that. So the other example pattern that you introduced, "My sister happens to be a lawyer," is probably something you would see in a situation where a person is looking for a lawyer, and the person who says that sentence is introducing that, like, "Oh no, I need a lawyer. Do you have any recommendations?" And person B might say, "Oh, my sister happens to be a lawyer." So that's like saying, by chance, my sister is a lawyer. Like coincidentally, like it matches your situation nicely. That's kind of the feeling of happens to in this case, happens to be a lawyer. So yes, you could say like, "Oh, my sister is a lawyer." That's fine as well, but it doesn't have that same nuance of coincidence. So kind of think of happens to, or like happens to be, as meaning by chance in these statement situations. And when you're using it as a question, it creates like this formal, very gentle, like, "Is it possible to?" type request. So I hope that that helps you understand using the word happen or happens in cases like these. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Cloudy. Hi, Cloudy. Cloudy says, "What's the difference between these words? Admire, adore, and idolize. Thanks." Okay, let's compare. Let's make some example sentences first. "I admire Beyonce." "I adore Beyonce." "I idolize Beyonce." Okay, so first let's look at "I admire Beyonce." So we use admire for people, usually, people that we respect. So maybe we respect that person's work, or we want to be more like that person, or we think they've done like great things. They're very talented. So if I say I admire Beyonce, it means like I respect her work. So we use admire to mean like something or someone that we respect. The second sentence, "I adore Beyonce," uses the word adore, which means you love something. So when we say I adore something, we can use it to talk about like people, usually people in our lives. Sometimes we use it to talk about like our favorite activities as well. Like I adore arts and crafts, perhaps. But when we use it to talk about people, it's usually for people that we have a close relationship to. So like a Beyonce superfan might say like, "I adore Beyonce, I just love her." So that means that they feel like a close connection to that person, or like they really, really enjoy, in this case, the celebrity's work. So to adore something can be used in that way. Also within families, like parents could say they adore their children. So to adore means to love something and have a very close connection, or you feel like you have a close connection with someone. Then the final example sentence was, "I idolize Beyonce." I idolize. So to idolize, that verb has the word idol inside. So idol actually has like a religious kind of connection. So an idol was something like to be worshipped. So like a god or a goddess figure sort of thing. So to idolize something means to kind of have that thing as like above you. So you have like this image, in this case like Beyonce. I idolize Beyonce. That means means she's like above everything. Like we really appreciate her. Like we think she's just amazing and she's like above everybody else. So to idolize someone is like, has almost like this image of worshiping someone. So maybe like a super Beyonce fan could say like, I idolize Beyonce. I want to be like her. Like I want to do everything a fan can do. So maybe that's idolize in this case. So probably the most common words here are admire and adore. Idolize is not used nearly as much as these two, but that's the difference between those words. So I hope that that helps you understand. Thanks very much for the question. All right, that's everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending your questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alisha. Of course, if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alisha, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alisha, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. First question comes from Nick. Hi Nick. Nick says, hi Alisha, what does to roll mean in this context? Sugar was rare too. If you could offer guests a feast featuring spices, sugar, and vegetables from the New World, you were rolling. Is it about madness or poverty? Oh yeah, great question. So to roll, or like to be rolling, means to have a lot of money. So the image here is that you have so much money that you can roll your body around in the money. Like you are so rich you could roll in it. So like we will sometimes say he's rolling or she's rolling or they're rolling, which means they're rolling in money. She inherited a lot of money from her family. She's rolling. They bought a huge house last year, and this summer they bought a yacht. They must be rolling in dough. Okay, so I hope that this helps you understand the word roll. Thanks very much for the question. All right, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Gevorg Galstian. Hi, Gevorg. Gevorg says, what's the difference between gonna and gotta, and where should I use them? Okay, gonna is the short form of going to. I'm gonna go to the store. He's gonna leave early. We're gonna watch a movie. Gotta is the short form of got to, which means have to. So like I have got to means I have to do something. But native speakers will often drop the v, the have part, the contracted form of have in speech. So we're supposed to say I've gotta, which is the contracted form of I have got to. But we often drop the v sound in quick speech. So it sounds like I gotta or we gotta. We do, however, keep it when the subject is he or she or it's, because it's easy to say quickly. So some examples. I gotta go. He's gotta leave. We gotta work. So because gonna is like the reduced form of going to, we use it to talk about upcoming plans. And because gotta is like the reduced form of got to, meaning have to, we use gotta to talk about upcoming responsibilities. So I hope that this helps you understand the difference between the two. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Benny. Hi, Benny. Benny says, hi, Alisha, could you please tell me which forms are correct? A, I learned English in the morning. B, I've learned English in the morning. C, I've been learning in the morning. D, I was learning in the morning. 2, A, we will be eating dinner when he arrives. B, we will be eating dinner when he arrives. Okay, I'm going to stop here for your question because it's quite long. So before I talk about my responses to these, I also want to say that I'm going to use the word study, the verb study, instead of learn to answer this question. So you've used learn in your example sentences, but we use the word learn when we have finished learning something. So like I learned how to use a computer, or I learned how to do something. We're finished with that. So for that reason, I'm going to use study instead of your original learn here. So study sounds more natural. So with that in mind, the correct answers or the correct sentences here are sentences A and D. B and C both use forms of the present perfect tense. Sentence B uses just kind of a regular present perfect. So I have studied in the morning. That sounds strange because we're using a specific point in time, in the morning, plus present perfect tense, and we don't use those two together, really. So we use present perfect tense when we want to talk about general life experience. So we could say, for example, like, yeah, I've studied English before. So before just means sometime before now. So sometime in the past. Yeah, I've studied English before. So that's okay, but we would not use in the morning, a specific time. The second sentence, C there, is also strange even though we're using the continuous form, the present perfect continuous form, because it's like something that is continuing, yes, but we have it at a specific point in time. So like, I've been studying in the morning. We use the present perfect continuous with like for and since to talk about the time when an action started. We talk about the specific point when the action started. So in this case, you're talking about an action that is finished, it's done. So it sounds strange to use in the morning, and it's grammatically incorrect. You could say, I've been studying since 10 this morning, or I've been studying for 3 hours this morning. Those are fine when you want to talk about a duration of time and you want to talk about the point in time where you started that thing. So only sentence A and sentence D are correct. You could change sentence B and sentence C, but you would change the meaning a little bit. On to your second question then. This is a quick answer. The correct one is he arrives. He arrives. This is because arrive is connected to he. So when you're using he or she or it, you need to use arrives. So when you're using I, you, or we, there is no change to the verb. So he arrives, she arrives, it arrives, I, you, we arrive. So I hope that that helps you. You had one more question, which was this. Michael said, yeah, that was a new one for me as well. I hope I don't have to do that again. Can I use this instead of that? And really, the answer is it depends on the situation. So if in this case, Michael is gesturing and pointing to something like, that was a new one for me, or this was a new one for me, I hope I don't have to do this again, and we can clearly see what's this, then it's okay to use this here. If it's just general and he's not gesturing or anything to clearly show us what this or that is, it sounds more natural to use that. So the answer is it depends a little bit. If you can clearly show the other person what you're talking about, sure, you can use this, especially when you're gesturing, you're pointing at something. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for all your questions. All right, let's move on to the next question. Next question comes from Muhammad Abdelhakim. Hi, Muhammad. Muhammad says, are you using me for my brain? What does this mean? You mentioned this in 100 phrases every English beginner must know. Yeah, okay. I was making a small joke here, actually. So there's a really common complaint or a really common problem that you sometimes hear in couples who are in romantic relationships. So if one person, or maybe both people, I don't know, has just a really strong physical attraction to somebody, there might be a complaint where someone says like, are you using me for my body? This is a common complaint in a relationship where a person thinks it's only physical. This person only cares about my physical appearance. They say, are you using me for my body? So I was making a joke in that one and saying, are you using me for my brain, to suggest that someone could just be interested in the things that I think. So it's not actually a joke. I was just making a twist on a common complaint. I can't quite remember, but I feel like in that video I was maybe talking about relationships or something similar, but I wanted to twist the joke a little bit to make it about knowledge. I don't know. So it's not actually funny. I was just twisting a very common complaint. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Silverway. Hi again, Silverway. Silverway says, "Hi, Alicia. I want to ask about the expression, things couldn't be better. Does this mean in the past, or can I use it to mean for the time being, like in the present?" Yeah, this is a present tense expression. So when you say things couldn't be better, it means right now, it's not possible for my life to be better. So that means things are great. So yes, couldn't is being used here, but it means things now could not be better. It's not possible for things to be better. So for example, like, hey, how are things? Oh, couldn't be better. Work is going great and I have a vacation coming up soon. Or, hey, how's the family? Oh, couldn't be better. Everyone's happy and healthy. So that means like it's not possible to improve more. It's not possible for things to be better. So we say couldn't be better now. That's a present tense expression. Thanks very much for the question. Hope that that helps. All right, that's everything that I have for this week. Thank you, as always, for sending your questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alisha. Of course, if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alisha, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, welcome back to Ask Alisha, the weekly series where you ask me questions and I answer them. Maybe. First question comes from Ayan. Hi Ayan. Ayan says, "Hi Alisha, which sentence is correct? I think someone broke into my apartment." Or, "I think someone broke into my family." When should I use the simple past tense? Actually, both sentences are close, but neither sentence is correct. The correct sentence would be, "I think someone broke into my apartment." So when we use the verb break into in the regular present tense, we follow it with the actual place, like with the location. So we don't use people as the object of this phrasal verb. We use the actual place. So I broke into an apartment, or someone broke into my house, or I think someone is breaking into your car, or a thief broke into the jewelry store last night. Okay, so I hope that this helps with your understanding of the phrase break into. Thanks very much for the question. All right, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Vladimir. Hi, Vladimir. Vladimir says, "Hi, what is the difference between what as a conjunction and that?" Some examples. I should have said what I said. I don't know that we can. Show me that you can help me, and I'll tell you where your friends are. I got these examples from TV shows. Yeah, really good question, and a tough question too. Actually, in these sentences, what and that are not acting as conjunctions. They're acting as relative pronouns. So relative pronouns start a noun clause, like a relative clause. They're giving us some information, and we begin these clauses with relative pronouns. So let's take a look at the examples that you sent. Let's start with what. So in your first example sentence, you said, I should have said what I said. So here, what marks the beginning of this new clause. What I said is the clause itself. So I should have said something. So this what I said refers to something the speaker mentioned earlier, or something the speaker mentioned in a different conversation. So what I said could be replaced with it or that, and the sentence would remain grammatical, like I should have said it. I should have said that. What is acting as a relative pronoun, and it means the thing which, or the things which, something, something, something. So you could say, I should have said the things which I said. So that would be a grammatically correct sentence. So in this case, what does not act as a conjunction, it's acting as a relative pronoun. It's starting off this clause, this new information. So let's look at another example that uses this. For example, ugh, I shouldn't have eaten what I ate for lunch. So in this sentence, what I ate for lunch is like my extra information. That's my noun clause there. and I'm using what to introduce that. So here the speaker is expressing regret. Maybe the speaker ate lots of junk food for lunch and now they feel terrible. So I shouldn't have eaten what I ate for lunch. So that means that thing or those things that I ate for lunch, even though the speaker is not specifically stating everything he or she ate. So we use what in this way to mean the things which or the thing which. So let's continue on to your other two examples. The first one was, I don't know that we can. So here, that is the relative pronoun, as we talked about with what. But here, that is used to introduce like an idea or a concept. So that we can is the noun clause here. It's acting as the object of the verb know. I don't know that we can. So that we can is referring to something that was said earlier in the conversation. So maybe, for example, like, we should try to convince the neighbors to build a pool and share it with us. And then the speaker might respond with, I don't know that we can. So that we can, like, that seems like it's kind of an unfinished sentence. Like, what does can connect to there? But can actually connects to the verb that was in the previous statement or the previous sentence. In that case, it was, we should convince the neighbors. So that we can connects to the verb convince. Like, I don't know that we can convince the neighbors. That's what it means. So in order to introduce this clause, we use that. So we use that for like things, ideas, concepts. It sounds quite informal too. For more information on using that, you can check out a video that we have on the channel about relative clauses as well. Let's look at your last example. So in this example, you said, show me that you can help me. So here, let's focus on this clause that's that you can help me. So in this case, it's actually not acting as the object, the direct object. So the verb here is show, the direct object is me, and this clause is actually what's called the object complement. So an object complement describes or gives us some more information about the direct object. So in this case, it's show me, like what are you going to show me? That you can help me. So there's this noun clause there, and we begin the noun clause with that. So this is the difference, and this is how we use these kinds of things in sentences. So I hope that this answers your question. Thanks very much for sending it along. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Mohammed Bushra. Hi, Mohammed. Mohammed says, how do I use in terms of in sentences? Okay, using in terms of kind of like helps you to explain a specific focus for a situation or gives you more context about a situation. So for example, at like a company meeting, you could say, in terms of sales, last month was a huge success, but in terms of staff morale, it was a huge failure. So here, you're pointing out like two parts of one situation. So you're talking about the company's performance maybe last month as a whole, as one thing. But inside that, there are small points. So you're pointing out smaller things inside something larger. So we use in terms of to do that. I would say we tend to use this a little bit more in formal conversations. I wouldn't use this a lot with friends, but you could if you want to. So I hope that that helps you. Thanks very much for the question. All right, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Ehsan. Hi, Ehsan. Ehsan says, hi, Alisha. Could you please explain a bit about past and past and how to use them in different situations, because it's quite challenging for learners. I watched a few videos, but I'm still a bit confused. Thanks. Okay, sure. Let's talk about past, P-A-S-T, first. So past can be a noun which refers to time before the present. We can also use past to refer to prior things. So that means it's like an adjective. So my past work, or like my past relationships, or my past job. So past refers to things prior. In the past, what kind of work have you enjoyed doing? Some of her past relationships ended terribly. Now let's talk about past, so P-A-S-S-E-D. This is the past tense form of the verb to pass, which can mean like to move beyond something else, or it can mean to give someone something else, usually like at close range. We also use this verb to mean to successfully complete a test or to get a good grade on a test, to pass. So again, this is the past tense and the past participle form of this verb. So that means that even though the pronunciations sound very similar, these two words have very different grammatical functions, and therefore you can determine which word is being used depending on the positioning of the word in the sentence. So let's look at some examples with past. I passed my coworker on the street earlier. Have you ever passed a test without studying? There's one more use of pass that's also very common, which is to pass out. To pass out means to fall asleep. And we usually use this when we've been drinking or when we're just super, super tired. So for example, I passed out as soon as I got home last night. Or, he passed out in the back of the car. So pass out is kind of a set phrase on its own, which casually or roughly means to fall asleep. So you can hear in these example sentences that past, P-A-S-S-E-D, and past, P-A-S-T, take different positions in sentences. So we're not just listening for the pronunciations of these words in speech, we're also kind of listening to the grammar of the sentence as a whole. So if you're confused, if you're listening to someone speaking and you're wondering, did that person just say past or did they say past? Which sound extremely similar. Think about the way the sentence is made. What's the position of the word that you're wondering about? And also think, does this word make sense, the meaning of this word? So in sum, these words do take different positions and have different meanings, so try to listen to the sentence as a whole. I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Fernando Valencia Gonzalez. Hi again, Fernando. Fernando says, hi Alicia, my questions. I still can't get the difference between buy and purchase. In the same way, I don't know when or where to use amid, among, and between. Cool, so first let's take a look at buy and purchase. Yeah, when we use these as verbs, they share a meaning really, but in everyday conversation we use buy. Like, I need to buy a camera, or I'm gonna go buy lunch, or what did you buy last weekend? So they refer to just going shopping and exchanging money for things. We use purchase more in formal situations, maybe in contracts, or maybe you see it in a customer service agreement. You might also see purchase as the verb used on an online shopping website, the button to click something. Might say buy or it might say purchase. So it's just the verb that's used. You might also see purchase used as a noun. We can use it as a countable noun, actually. So customers should bring their purchases to the register. It does sound more formal. We cannot use buy in this way. We cannot use buy as a noun. That would sound very strange. So please only use purchase as a noun. So in everyday conversation, I would recommend using the verb buy to talk about shopping. In more formal situations, we might use purchase more commonly. Regarding your second question about the differences between amid and among and between, the very short answer is that amid is used with uncountable nouns, among is used with countable nouns, and between is used in situations where there are just two options to choose from. We also use between to mean in the middle of two objects. Another point, amid does tend to sound quite formal, and we tend to use amid with these kind of abstract nouns. So for example, she lost her wallet amid the confusion, or the thief escaped amid the excitement of the concert. Regarding among then, when we use it with countable nouns, it kind of sounds a little bit less formal than amid. Like, they walked among the trees, or there's a spy among us. So between can be used to mean in the middle of two things. So for example, on the train this morning, I sat between two people wearing lots of perfume. Or, I put your lunch over there between the microwave and the coffee maker. So this is a really quick introduction to these. I made a whiteboard video about this question, so please keep an eye out for that on the channel very soon. So I hope that helps answer your question. Thank you very much for sending this along. All right, that's everything that I have for this week. Thanks, as always, for sending your questions. Remember, you can send them to me at englishclass101.com/ask-Alisha. Of course, if you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and check us out at englishclass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this week's episode of Ask Alisha, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, welcome back to English Topics. My name is Alisha, and today I am joined again by...
I'm Davey.
Welcome back, Davey.
Thank you.
So in this episode, we're going to be giving some reading recommendations. So these are a few ideas that you can use in your English reading. So the idea here is just kind of to remind people that although we focus a lot on speaking and listening on this channel, reading is also an important and essential part of learning a language. So these are a couple of ideas. If you're struggling to find something to read, or if you just want something new to read, maybe, you can try one of the things that we'll suggest today, I hope. All right. I guess I'll start because I chose one of my items is actually quite general. And this was something that I recommended in a different video recently too. Just to start things off quite broadly, I've written magazines specific to your hobbies. This could be books as well, or maybe like online magazines too. But this I chose because actually this is something that I did that helped me when I was studying, when I am studying now, but this actually helped me too. Because this was something, in my case it was about music. I chose a magazine related to my hobby because I wanted to study the vocabulary words that were used for my hobby. And I was also interested in the subject to start with. 3, when I read the magazine, I would also find out about other things related to my hobbies that I might also want to know about, but it was in the language I was studying. So like a real example, I had a band that I really, really liked when I was in high school. I looked online because I could not buy the magazine. It was a magazine in Japanese. I looked online, bought the magazine online, and got it sent to my house.
Wow.
And then I would sit with a dictionary and try to read the interview of like my favorite artists to understand what they were saying. And then I'd look through the magazine at some of the other things in the magazine, and it helped me actually get an idea of like the other similar things in that subculture that I might be interested in the language I was studying.
Right.
So this was very helpful for me in terms of vocabulary, in terms of learning about something I was interested in. So this is something I would recommend. And this is also something I think that's easy to do quickly, especially if there's like a blog or something you follow.
Yeah. That's a good tip too, I think, because you'll be motivated to read if that's your hobby. That's something you're interested in. You will be motivated to read that. You won't give up if it's difficult. You'll press on, you'll finish reading it. And also, if that's your hobby, you'll be picking up vocabulary that you will use. If you want to go talk with people about your hobby in English, you'll be picking up vocabulary related to your hobby when you're reading, and then you can use that.
Exactly. And I think you can do that. I've used hobbies for this tip, but I think you could also do that for your profession as
Yes,
well.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So that's just a kind of a broad, open tip. But I think you have some more specific ones.
I do. I took a little bit different approach from you. But my first one here is Harry Potter, the Harry Potter books. Because when the first Harry Potter book was written, it was written for children of a certain age. And when the next Harry Potter book was written, it was written for the same kids a year or two, when they were a year or two older. And so the Harry Potter books get longer and more complex and more difficult to read as you go through them. So it's nice to start with a nice simple book that was written for, a certain age. So it will be easier for you to read if you are a language learner, if you're an English learner. And as you get better, you can move through the books. And also this is a nice package of extended reading, having, how many Harry Potter books are there? 7? 7? I've never read Harry Potter actually. But
There are 7.
There's 7. There's 7 books.
There's 7
But,
excellent stories.
That's all together. That's a lot of reading. And so you will improve your reading skills a lot by just reading a lot. Even if you don't understand everything you're reading, that's all right. Just press on. And maybe you've already read Harry Potter in your first language or in another language. Maybe you've seen the Harry Potter movies. being familiar with the story and the characters and what's going on will help you fill in some of the gaps if you don't understand something when you're reading the books. And that way you don't have to focus on understanding every single word or every single sentence. You can just focus on enjoying what you're reading, and your reading skills will develop. You might not notice them developing, but they will develop as you press on and as you continue reading.
Yeah, I think your point about it being a known story, I think so many people around the world have read Harry Potter in their native language that they know what to expect.
Right.
I will say, however, because I tried the exact opposite. I ordered Harry Potter in Japanese
Really?
to try to read it. And so I would give just one word of precaution for fantasy stories. That is that there are a lot of nonsense words in fantasy stories and fantasy books. So like Harry Potter is fairly light.
Right.
It's like, but I mean, it is make-believe, and there are some words that just, like muggle, for example, is a word that we cannot use in everyday English. So I think if you can keep that in mind, fantasy books are a great thing to read. They're so much fun. I love them. But they can be challenging, I think, to apply all of those words to your everyday life. But yeah, I think Harry Potter is so well known and so well loved, and you can talk to people about it too.
True. Yeah.
You know, you can watch the movies then in English as well. Like there's a lot of good stuff to do there.
That's true. And read with subtitles, actually. That's a nice tip for improving reading skills generally. We're talking about reading recommendations, but a nice tip is watching a movie with the subtitles on and trying to speed read the subtitles is a nice little boost as well.
Yeah.
You could do that after you read the book.
Yeah, so that's a great tool. Like you said, there's just the whole package. You have all that material
a lot
there
of content,
to use.
yeah.
For sure. Okay, sounds good. I will go on to my next one, which is slightly less vague, but I thought this might be useful for learners of all ages. There's this, are you familiar with Pearson English Readers?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are a lot of books for kids here, but there are also some materials as well as audio materials for adults. So what is an English reader, a Pearson English Reader? Pearson's the company that makes these, but they are graded stories. They are simplified stories or stories that are made to suit learners of different levels. So if you know your level or you have an idea of your level, actually, I think their website, you can do a short, like kind of level check sort of thing to sort of get an idea of the best level book for you. But based on your level, you can find books, you can find stories. Some of them are based, I think, on like movies as well, famous movies. But you can get these so that they're suited to your level. And then maybe you can also challenge yourself by getting books that are like the level above you when you're starting to feel confident. So these might be a good resource. They have kids books, I know. So like, you know, kids 3 to 5 can read storybooks in English, really simple ones. And then as kids get older, they have more for like, I don't know, like 9 to 11-year-old kids and so on. But based on your level, you can choose the book and the story that you feel would be best for you. So that might be a good resource to check out. So specifically created material for different levels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's an idea. So just for some examples, like I checked their website before we started talking about this. And for kids' stories, they had, you know, some common English language children's stories like Little Red Riding Hood or The Three Bears, or maybe children's adventure stories when children start to get a little older. A couple of the things I saw for adults, for example, the movie Love Actually, apparently there's like a reader plus some kind of audio as well to go along with that story. So there are some apparently famous like movies that have also been turned into reading material and listening material for people. So that's a resource that you can use as an educator, but also as a person learning English. So you can check out their website, I think.
Nice idea.
Might be something to check into. So anyway, what's your next recommendation?
So my next one is for more advanced readers, higher level English readers, and that is to read something by Ernest Hemingway, very famous Nobel Prize winning, I think he won the Nobel. Yes, he won the Nobel Prize in literature. Nobel Prize winning writer Ernest Hemingway, who was writing in the middle of the 20th century. He died in 1962 or something like that. And I recommend Hemingway because he famously has a very simple writing style, even though he's a very well-regarded, well-respected American writer, he wrote in a very simple way. He used very, very simple syntax. So it's easy to understand his writing. Vocabulary might be difficult, but it's easy to read a short story of his or a shorter novel of his and get the idea, get the gist of the story. And he wrote a lot of, he's famous for certain novels like The Old Man and the Sea, For Whom the Bell Tolls, but he also wrote a lot of short stories. And so that's a good place to start. You could buy a collection of his short stories or find some online. I'm sure you can find some of his, like the Nick Adams stories or other stories online to try reading for free. And that's a good place to start. And if you like what you read, then you can read more. So like I said, he wrote novels and he also wrote a lot of short stories. And I don't know if I have one specific favorite short story, but he has a series of, or a collection of his stories that are called the Nick Adams stories, because they all feature one character named Nick Adams. And the first Nick Adams story is when Nick Adams is a young boy, and he's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years old. And we see Nick Adams kind of grow up through these stories. And a lot of these stories are also about fishing. Nick Adams growing up in Illinois, I think, which is also where Hemingway is from. And stories about Nick Adams kind of just going fishing. And I grew up in a fishing family, and so I really like those stories. And they're simple, they're easy to understand. They're just stories about a young guy going fishing. It might sound really boring, but they're very beautifully written. They're very nice stories. They're easy to understand.
I didn't read much Hemingway. I read some here and there in high school.
Sure.
But I think in my case, I was always more drawn towards like the fantasy and science fiction genre.
Sure.
And so that always held more appeal. But there were some authors, and I think from around the same time period as well, that gained notoriety for that style that you're describing, that was like simple situations and simple phrasing, but like an ability to like create these just kind of picturesque images. Like, who wrote Walden?
Walden was Thoreau.
Thoreau. I remember that. That's the one about the guy who just lives in the forest.
Well, it's a journal.
By himself.
Yeah.
But that's one that really stood out to me too. There was nothing necessarily complex about that story, like on the surface, but that was one that was like, it made you think about just like the pace of everyday life, and it wasn't so difficult to read. Like we were reading it in high school. So,
right.
There are a lot of writers, I think, that have something similar. I was also thinking when you were talking about Kerouac as well, Jack Kerouac, who did travel stories.
But they're stream of consciousness,
So-
a lot of them. Like On the Road is very stream of consciousness. Sentences that go on for a page.
I see. I was thinking in terms of material, in terms of topic,
Sure.
and in terms of like vocabulary use and so on. So, but that does make sense because they are kind of rambly.
Yes. Kerouac might be hard.
Though in general, that's perhaps like a high school reading list might not be bad.
Absolutely.
Well, I shouldn't say that actually. That's not true.
Depends
We've
what
got-
you're reading.
That's like Homer as well, like Iliad and
Yeah,
Odyssey
stay
are
away
also
from
on
the
that.
Iliad and
I would
Odyssey.
not recommend
Stay
those.
away from Faulkner.
What else is that good?
That's
Did you
those
read-
certain things are going to be hard. I like Faulkner, but he's not that is not an easy author to read.
I'm trying
if
to
you're
think
a learner.
of kind of like in that same vein then, sort of those kind of adventure-ish stories. William Golding's Lord of the Flies. That one was kind of like, it's an exciting adventure story for sure. It gets dark as well too.
And there's a movie.
Oh, is there?
There is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, those are some things that stood out to me from my high school list. But
Sure.
I don't know what people are reading in high school these days. I'm kind of curious.
Probably a lot of the same. There's a lot of things in the canon.
A lot of historical stuff too. I remember reading The Plague. Oh, I can't remember who wrote that.
That's
Not cheery. Not cheery.
Camus.
That's right.
It's French.
Gosh, you're good at that. You're good at remembering authors. I am not.
I was a lit major.
But that makes sense. So yeah, that's a dark story about the plague, the Black Plague.
Yes, it is.
Happy times.
And murder. My man died today. Maybe it was yesterday.
Oh man,
That's the first line.
I don't remember. I don't remember these things. Anyway, I'll go to something that came to me because I was thinking about adolescent level books, actually.
Sure.
Because I feel as a learner, a second language learner, adolescent level books are nice because it's like they're not too hard and they're not too easy, and the subject matter often has a little bit of like drama to it. So anyway, I chose two things here actually. Nancy Drew and the
Babysitter's
Hardy
Club.
Boys.
Sorry.
No, I never read Babysitter's Club, actually. I was just never into that sort of thing. But I did read Nancy Drew. So I included both of these here. Basically, both of these, Nancy Drew is the story of a young girl. She's a detective. That's the story here. The Hardy Boys, they are two boys. Their last name is Hardy. I think they're brothers. Yeah, of course they're brothers, the Hardy Boys. They are detectives also. So these two, it was like a detective series led by a girl and a detective series led by boys. And I thought these could be nice because these are books, these are huge. Like there's
So
a
many books.
lot of books in both of these series. And when I was thinking about the genre of a mystery story, I was thinking about the different types of grammar that get used in these stories, like stuff that you might not use so much in everyday conversations, like he would have been able to, or he might have been able to, or then we could maybe, like sort of these weird future possibility or past possibility sorts of things that can get discussed in these mystery stories, but they're made for like teenagers, essentially. But that doesn't mean that the stories aren't interesting. I remember really enjoying like Nancy Drew when I was a teenager. Did you ever read these?
I think I tried reading one or two Hardy Boys books when I was a kid, and I didn't really get into them.
I see.
But I did, similar to those kinds of books, I really liked an author called John Bellairs, who wrote similar kind of like kind of mystery books for young readers, like The Mansion in the Mist, and these sort of weird kind of spooky Baroque kind of mystery books for children
Okay.
that were really good. So John Bellairs, I recommend. He's a nice, good author too.
Did you read those choose your own adventure style books?
Oh, that's a great one. Those are really fun.
But the one thing that I would caution about with those books is those books are often written in second person, meaning the subject is
true.
you. Those are kind of a rare style of book in that respect.
That's true.
When it's what we're talking about is a choose your own adventure. I had the Goosebumps series when I was little.
Sure.
It was like scary stories. But when the book is a choose your own adventure book, it means you, the reader, are the focus of the story. And so as you read, you have to make decisions in the story. If you choose A, you turn to this page. If you choose B, you turn to a different page and you read what happens to you next. So you are choosing your story as the character in the story. So the way the story is written is different from typical stories. So the focus in the story is you go to the haunted house, you see a ghost. What do you do next? And that's not very typical of the way most stories are written.
They're very interactive and very fun, and also very simple because you're reading just a few sentences per page and then making a decision. So they're easy to read.
They are. So as long as you can keep that in mind, it's called second person, the way those stories are written. But those are fun, for sure.
Absolutely.
I always got scared. I would hold like the different pages and like,
Yeah,
if I died in the story, I'd be like, no, I go
turning
back
back
and then I'd
yes,
choose the one
course.
where I live and I escape the haunted
Of
house
course.
sort of thing. I didn't like to lose.
But they're actually, that's another nice thing about those books is you will read them again and again because you want to discover the different possibilities. And so rereading something, it gets easier to read and it's good practice for you.
Yeah. So choose your own adventure books. Yeah. What was the series that you read of choose
I
your
don't
own
remember.
adventure?
I remember it was like an adventure series, sort of like Indiana. It wasn't Indiana Jones, but it was that style of adventures. Like you're a treasure hunter in the jungle, stuff like that. I remember reading ones like that.
I see. Yeah, I'm not sure what other ones there are. I only had Goosebumps.
I'm sure there's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, those are very good.
Nice.
Yeah, nice idea.
Okay. All right. What's your next one?
My last one is also maybe more for advanced or intermediate learners, and it's the New York Times. And now bear with me. I know you might be thinking, oh, that seems very difficult. But I recommend the New York Times for a few reasons. One, it's always nice to stay up on current events and reading about the news and current events in English, things that are happening now in English, you'll be able to then go talk about them in English. The second reason that I've recommended the New York Times is similar to your first recommendation, you can find something to read in the New York Times. If you don't want to read the news, read the travel section. Read the food section. You know, there's different sections of the New York Times that you can read based on your interest. And the third reason I've chosen the New York Times is because the New York Times online has a very cool feature. You can double click on any word that you don't understand and it will give you the definition. So for learners, it's very useful. So if you're worried about, understanding all the vocabulary in an article or improving your vocabulary, this is a very, very easy way to do it. You don't need to sit there with the dictionary open while you read. You just need to double click on the word. A little pop-up window will tell you the definition. You can close the window and keep reading. So it's very, very useful for vocabulary building.
That's cool. That's way cool. And as an extra bonus for extra advanced learners, you can try the New York Times crossword puzzle.
Ooh, yes you can.
Crossword puzzles are great vocabulary practice, like games. I guess it is essentially a game.
Yeah.
New York Times, though, like it's infamously difficult. The New York Times.
They get harder through
puzzle.
the week.
It's like the Sunday crossword is the most difficult. Yeah.
I went through a phase a couple years doing the New York Times crossword puzzle every day. I wanted to get good at it, and I could complete through Wednesday pretty easily. Thursday, maybe. I never really made it past Thursday.
Oh, wow.
Friday, I couldn't really do. Weekends were like, forget it.
So for reference, a crossword puzzle is a word game. So a crossword puzzle, it's like a grid of lines and columns, and there are empty boxes. And each line or each column, there's a word hint. There's a clue about which word fits in the boxes. So you have to choose and spell correctly the word. So you might need to erase the word, or you might need to try a few different words, but it's a test of your spelling for one. It's a test of your vocabulary too. And for more difficult crossword puzzles, it can be a test of your knowledge of other subjects. So it's not just words, it's also history and science and literature. Like there are so many different things that go into the clues for crossword puzzles. So those are really, really good ways to test your knowledge. They're difficult even for native speakers.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Totally difficult. So if you want to try, definitely Google for some English crossword puzzles. You can search for easy ones also.
Yes, and they make crossword puzzles for English learners. And a lot of those are graded to a specific level, or they're on a specific topic. You could do a crossword puzzle on, the ocean and learn vocabulary related to the ocean, for example. So there's a lot of different crosswords that you could find, for your level.
Yeah, so that could be a fun way to practice reading and to practice spelling as well. So fun stuff. All right, so those are a couple of different reading recommendations. There's quite a lot to choose from, but I think as long as you're interested in what you're reading, like that's maybe the hardest part, at least for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just find a thing you like.
Find something that's interesting and you will stay motivated to read it.
Agreed. Are you reading anything now?
I am reading something now. I am reading a book by David Mitchell, who is a very wonderful author, who is maybe most famous for Cloud Atlas. And they made it, which they made into a movie.
I saw the movie.
And I'm reading what am I reading? Not Number 9 Dream. I bought 2 books of his recently. I bought Number 9 Dream and Black Swan Green. That's what it's called. Black Swan Green is the book I'm reading now by David Mitchell.
I see.
And it is a good book.
Cool. Yeah, I'm reading, I've gone back into history. I told you about this the other day. I'm reading Letters from a Stoic at the moment. By Seneca, the old Stoic philosopher, for kind of just interesting essays and
just showing off
advice, life advice. I'm not showing off. It's a common book. It's a very common book.
Yeah, I've got Seneca on my nightstand as well.
Well, I don't read the things that you read, so it's to show, you know, everybody has something different.
Find something you like.
Yeah.
And read it.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the point here. All right, so those are quite a few recommendations, some ideas. But if you liked the video, which we hope you did, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Also, come and check us out at EnglishClass101.com. You can find some other reading resources on the website there, so don't forget to stop by. Thanks very much for watching this episode of English Topics, and we will see you again next time. Bye-bye. Hi everybody, my name is Alisha. Welcome back to Know Your Verbs. In this episode, we're going to talk about the verb read. Let's get started. The basic definition of the verb read is to take in information using letters or symbols through your eyes or through touch. People can read through touch also. In example sentences, I've been reading interesting books recently. I read a great article yesterday. Let's look at the conjugations of this verb. Present, read, reads. Past, read. Past participle, read. Progressive, reading. So let's look at some additional meanings for this verb. The first meaning is to interpret something as if you are reading it. So that means you're interpreting something that is not a symbol, it's not letters, but you interpret it as though you can read it in some way. Let's look at some examples. He's really hard to read. My best friends can read me like a book. Okay, so the first example, he's really hard to read, means he's really hard to interpret. He's really hard to understand. So maybe someone that you know, their emotions are not very clear always, or it's not easy to know what they're thinking. We can say, that person is hard to read, like it's hard to interpret their thinking. It's hard to interpret them. In the second example sentence, I said, my friends can read me like a book. So that means my friends think I'm easy to understand. I'm easy to interpret through my body language or my face or the sound of my voice. It's really easy to read me. It's really easy to interpret me. So easy, it's like reading a book. So I'm very easy to understand is the meaning there. So this kind of read we can use for people, or maybe even we can use for like situations too. So to read something like it's symbols, even though it's not symbols. The second meaning for this verb is to assign meaning to something else, to assign a meaning to something else, so to give a meaning to something. So examples of this passage can be read totally differently. How did you read that message? So here, read doesn't mean like physically taking in the information in a message or in a book. It means understanding or giving a certain meaning to something. So in the first example, it was, this passage can be read totally differently, means this passage or the meaning of this passage could be understood in a different way. So that doesn't mean there's a different way to read, like physically take the information in. It means there's a different way to understand the meaning of that passage. In the second example sentence, how did you read that message? It means how did you understand that message? Or what was the true meaning you understood in that message? What did you get from that? How did you read that message? So read doesn't only mean looking at the symbols and letters, even if it seems like it here. In these sorts of situations, it means how do you assign meaning to that text? Let's go to a third meaning of the verb read then. So we can also use read to mean to indicate something, as with like signs or time. Let's look at some examples. The clock reads 2. The sign reads, visitors not permitted. So here, I'm using the present tense for both of these example sentences. The clock reads means the clock indicates 2 o'clock, or the clock says 2 o'clock. So when there's some indication, there's some sort of message from a sign, from a clock, from, I don't know, bulletin board maybe, whatever. It's indication. We can use the verb read to talk about that. So the sign reads 2 o'clock. The sign reads, visitors not permitted, to indicate. Let's look at some variations now for this verb. The first one is to read into something. This means to believe in a deeper meaning of something. However, in some cases, there's no deeper meaning. It's like we think there's deeper meaning for something, but there really isn't. Let's look at some examples of this. She's being extra nice to him. I'm trying not to read into it, but I wonder if they're dating. Don't read into his comments. Okay, so both of these mean actually in both of these, I've given kind of a negative situation. In the first one, I'm trying not to read into it. Means I'm trying not to see a deeper meaning in this situation, but I wonder if they're dating because she's being extra nice to him. So there's a little bit of curiosity there. In the second example sentence, don't read into his comments means don't imagine there's a deeper meaning there. Don't read into his comments. There's not anything else for you to be concerned about here. It's just this comment, that's all. So don't think there's something behind the comment. Okay, let's go to the second variation for read today. The second variation is to read between the lines, to read between the lines. This means to understand something that's not directly stated. This is a very important skill, and so many, I think, countries have different ways of expressing this concept. But in English, we say to read between the lines, to see or to understand something that people don't explicitly say. Examples. The manager said he was happy with last month's performance, but reading between the lines, I think he wishes we had done better. And I think if you read between the lines, you'll see that the company is not doing so well. So in the first example sentence, we see this presentation. The manager was happy with the performance, but reading between the lines, I think he wishes we had done better. That suggests that maybe there was a comment or there's some information there that makes the speaker think the manager's actually hiding some disappointment. So there's something about the manager's behavior that maybe indicates his true feelings are different from his happy kind of presentation. In the second example sentence, I think if you read between the lines, you'll see that the company is not doing so well. Again, that means that there's something the speaker has noticed or has sensed or has heard that suggests that actually the company is not doing so well, even though it seems that they are. This is a useful expression for social situations. Like if someone doesn't quite understand like the feeling of a conversation or like the sort of sense in a room, we can say like, oh, that person can't really read between the lines, can he, here? So that's how we use it. So those are a few new ways of using the verb read, I hope. If you have any other uses that you know of, or if you have any questions or comments or want to try to make a sentence with this verb, please feel free to do so. Of course, if you liked the video, please make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for other good stuff too. Thanks very much for watching this episode of Know Your Verbs, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. In the second happens.
Accountant. Accountant. Adjective. Adjective.
Afternoon. Afternoon.
Air conditioner. Air conditioner.
Airplane. Airplane. Airport. Airport.
Alcohol. Alcohol. Ankle. Ankle. Appetizer. Appetizer. Apple. Apple.
Apricots. Apricots.
April. April. Arm. Arm. Arrive. Arrive.
attic, attic.
August, August.
Autumn, autumn.
Back door, back door.
Backbone, backbone.
Door, door. Banana, banana.
Bandage, bandage.
Barley, barley. Basement, basement.
Bathe, bathe.
Bathroom, bathroom.
Be late, be late.
Beard, beard. Beautiful, beautiful.
Bed, bed. Bedroom, bedroom.
Beef, beef. Beer, beer. To believe, to believe.
Beverage, beverage.
Bicycle, bicycle.
Bird, bird. Birthday, birthday. Bitter, bitter.
Black, black. Black tea, black tea. Blackboard, blackboard.
Blog, blog.
Blouse, blouse.
Blue, blue. Boat, boat. Boiling water, boiling water.
Bone, bone.
Book, book.
Boutique, boutique. Boyfriend, boyfriend.
Brassiere, brassiere.
Bread, bread.
Brown, brown.
Buffet, buffet.
Bus, bus. Busy, busy. Button, button. Buy, buy. Cake, cake. Call, call. can, can,
candy, candy,
carrots, carrots,
cash, cash,
cashew nut, cashew nut, cat, cat,
ceiling, ceiling,
cell phone, cell phone,
chair, chair, chalk, chalk,
character, character,
cheap, cheap,
cheek, cheek, chef, chef, chicken, chicken, child, child,
chin, chin, chopsticks, chopsticks,
city, city,
class, class, clear sky, clear sky,
to clear up, to clear up, clerk, clerk, closet, closet, cloth, cloth,
close, close,
cloudy, cloudy, coffee, coffee,
cold, cold,
collar, collar,
college, college,
come, come, company worker, company worker, computer, computer, cook, cook,
corn, corn,
correct, correct,
cost, cost,
country, country, cow, cow,
crab, crab,
credit card, credit card,
cup, cup,
customer, customer,
daughter, daughter,
day, day, debit card, debit card, December, December, department, department,
dessert, dessert, dictation, dictation,
dictionary, dictionary,
dining room, dining room, dinner, dinner,
director, director, dish, dish,
dishwasher, dishwasher,
do, do,
doctor, doctor,
dog, dog,
doorway, doorway, downstairs, downstairs,
draw, draw,
dream, dream,
dress, dress,
drink, drink,
drinking glass, drinking glass,
driver, driver, ear, ear, eat, eat, eat out, eat out,
eight, eight,
18, 18, 88, 88,
Elastic band. Elastic band.
elbow, elbow, electric plug, electric plug,
electricity, electricity, elementary school, elementary school, elevator, elevator,
11, 11, email, email,
emergency room, emergency room, engineer, engineer, English, English,
enter, enter,
erase, erase,
eraser, eraser,
expensive, expensive,
explain, explain, I, eyebrow, eyebrow,
eyelash, eyelash,
eyelid, eyelid. Face, face. Facial hair, facial hair.
Factory worker, factory worker. Fan, fan.
Farmer, farmer. Father, father.
Fax, fax.
To fear, to fear.
February, February. Feel, feel. 15, 15. 55, 55.
Final, final.
Firefighter, firefighter.
Fish, fish.
5, 5.
Flight, flight. Flight attendant, flight attendant. Floor, floor. Food, food.
Foot, foot.
Forehead, forehead.
Fork, fork.
44, 44.
4, 4.
14, 14.
Freeze, freeze.
Friday, Friday.
Friend, friend.
Fruit, fruit.
Fruit juice, fruit juice.
Fool, fool.
Garden, garden.
Get up, get up.
Girlfriend, girlfriend.
Glasses, glasses.
Go, go.
Go out, go out. Goat, goat.
Gold, gold.
Grape, grape. Grapefruit, grapefruit.
Grass, grass. Gray, gray.
green, green.
Gym, gym. Hair, hair.
hair dryer, hair dryer. Hallway, hallway.
Hand, hand.
Headphones, headphones.
High school, high school.
Holiday, holiday. Home cooking, home cooking. Homework, homework.
Horse, horse.
Hospital, hospital.
Hot, hot.
Hotel, hotel. Hour, hour.
House, house.
Housewife, housewife.
Humid, humid.
Hungry, hungry. Husband, husband.
Ice, ice. Incorrect, incorrect.
Information, information.
Insurance, insurance.
Internet, internet.
iPhone, iPhone. Jacket, jacket.
January, January.
Jeans, jeans.
July, July. June, June. Kitchen, kitchen.
Knife, knife.
Ladle, ladle.
Lamb, lamb.
Language, language.
Laptop, laptop.
Large, L. Large, L. Lawyer, lawyer. Learn, learn.
Lecture, lecture.
Leg, leg.
Lesson, lesson.
Letter, letter.
Library, library.
license, license.
lip, lip,
Living room, living room.
Lobster, lobster.
luggage, luggage,
Lunch. Lunch.
Main course, main course. Mall, mall.
man, man. Manager, manager.
Map, map.
March, march.
Marker, marker.
May, may.
Meet, meet.
Medical doctor, medical doctor. Melons, melons.
Microwave oven, microwave oven. Middle school, middle school. Midnight, midnight. Milk, milk. Miniskirt, miniskirt.
Miss, miss.
Monday, Monday.
Month, month.
Moped, moped.
Morning, morning.
Mother. Mother.
Motorbike, motorbike.
Motorcycle, motorcycle.
Mouse, mouse.
Mouth, mouth.
Mug, mug.
Muggy, muggy. Muscle, muscle.
Mushroom, mushroom.
Mustache, mustache.
Neck, neck.
Necktie, necktie. Need, need.
Needle, needle.
Night. Night.
9, 9.
19, 19. 99, 99.
Noon, noon.
Nose, nose. notebook, notebook. Noun, noun. November, November. Nurse, nurse.
Nut, nut.
October, October. Office worker, office worker.
One, one.
100, 100.
Onions, onions.
Operation, operation.
Orange, orange.
Oven. Oven.
Overcoat, overcoat. Pajamas, pajamas. Pants, pants.
Paper, paper.
Passenger, passenger. Passport, passport.
Patient. Patient.
Peanut, peanut.
Pen, pen.
Pencil, pencil.
Pepper, pepper. Pharmacy, pharmacy. Phone number, phone number. Pick up, pick up. Pig, pig.
Pineapple, pineapple.
Pink, pink. Pitcher, pitcher. Plate, plate. Pocket, pocket.
Police officer, police officer.
Pork, pork.
Pot, pot. Potato, potato.
Power outlet, power outlet.
Present. Present.
President, president.
Price, price. Problem, problem.
Professional athlete, professional athlete.
Projector, projector. Purple, purple.
Question, question.
Quiz, quiz.
radio, radio,
rain, rain, raincoat, raincoat, rainy, rainy,
read, read,
Read aloud. Read aloud.
receipt, receipt,
red, red,
refrigerator, refrigerator,
rent, rent, repeat, repeat,
resemble, resemble,
Respect. Respect. Rest. Rest.
Restaurant. Restaurant.
return, return,
rice, rice, room, room, sail, sail, salesperson, salesperson, salt, salt, salty, salty,
say, say,
scooter, scooter,
seafood, seafood,
search, search,
See. See.
September, September,
Serve. Serve.
7, 7,
17, 17, 77, 77,
Sheep. Sheep.
shirt, blouse, shirt, blouse,
shop, shop,
shorts, shorts,
shower, shower,
Sightsee. Sightsee.
silver, silver,
6, 6,
16, 16, 66, 66,
skirt, skirt,
Skype. Skype.
sleep, sleep,
sleeve, sleeve,
snack, snack,
snake, snake,
Social networking site. Social networking site. Sofa. Sofa.
Sun. Sun.
Sour. Sour. Soybean. Soybean.
Speak. Speak.
spend money, spend money,
Spicy. Spicy. Spoon. Spoon.
Spring. Spring.
Stand. Stand.
Steak knife. Steak knife.
Stomach. Stomach. Store. Store.
Student. Student. Study. Study.
Subway. Subway.
Sugar. Sugar.
Summer. Summer. Sunday. Sunday.
sunglasses, sunglasses,
Sunny. Sunny.
Supermarket. Supermarket.
Sweatsuit. Sweatsuit. Sweater. Sweater. Sweet potato. Sweet potato. Sweets. Sweets. Swimsuit. Swimsuit.
Table. Table. Talk. Talk.
Taxi. Taxi. Tea. Tea.
Teach. Teach.
Teacher. Teacher.
Television. Television.
Temperature. Temperature.
10, 10,
Test. Test. Text. Text.
text message, text message,
Textbook. Textbook.
Thank. Thank.
Thermometer. Thermometer.
Thirsty. Thirsty. 13. 13. 33. 33.
3. 3. Thursday. Thursday.
Time. Time.
Today. Today. Toilet paper. Toilet paper.
Tomatoes. Tomatoes.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Tongue. Tongue.
Tooth. Tooth.
Toothbrush. Toothbrush. Toothpick. Toothpick.
Travel. Travel. Truck. Truck.
Tuition. Tuition.
Turkey. Turkey.
Turn off. Turn off. Turn on. Turn on.
Turnip. Turnip.
12. 12. 21. 21. 22. 22.
2. 2.
Ugly. Ugly. Underline. Underline.
Undershirt. Undershirt.
Underwear. Underwear. University. University. Use. Use. Vacation. Vacation. Vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner. Vegetable. Vegetable.
Vehicle. Vehicle.
Verb. Verb.
Vest. Vest.
Waistcoat. Waistcoat. Wake up. Wake up.
Wall. Wall.
Want. Want.
Wash one's face. Wash one's face. Washing machine. Washing machine.
Watch. Watch.
Watch. Watch.
Water. Water. Watermelon. Watermelon. Weather. Weather. Weather report. Weather report.
Weekend. Weekend.
Wheat. Wheat.
Whiskey. Whiskey.
White. White.
Whiteboard. Whiteboard.
Wife. Wife. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi.
Window. Window.
Windy. Windy. Wine. Wine.
Winter. Winter.
Wipes. Wipes.
Wireless. Wireless.
Woman. Woman. Work. Work.
Wrinkle. Wrinkle. Wrist. Wrist.
Right. Right. Year. Year.
Yellow. Yellow. Yesterday. Yesterday.
Zero. Zero.
Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.